Guys, you're welcome to another series on Nupa Life Therapy. Today we are going to be discussing extensively on the misconception and the realities of traumas. What are the misconceptions a lot of people have about traumas, and what are the realities people need to start embracing about trauma? And I would like you guys to follow the series we started last week, and I want you to pay more attention. A lot of people are going to be talking about love, 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 love this season. There's love in the air. I chose to talk about something related to my field. And somebody said something to me on Sunday which was relatable. Who doesn't pass through trauma? Absolutely. Nobody is exempted. Okay, so number first misconception about trauma is people believe that trauma is life-threatening. There's this perspective that people tend to have, like, the trauma is good, that's why the person is committing suicide. People relate suicide, or people relate how do I put it, although people can relate suicide to trauma experience because of the response the person is giving to it, the person that went through that experience is giving to it. But trauma does not necessarily mean that you have to kill yourself. It doesn't. So it's not a life-threatening event. It's not something that how do I put it? It's not something that should bring you to that place of deciding to want to commit suicide. So it's actually a misconception, making yourself believe or thinking that trauma is life-threatening. Is not. So that would take me to number two. Number two is that people believe that trauma is just for the weak. So when you I'm only saying so when you have certain traumatic experience in life, there's this mentality it gives to people, like it's weak people that go through traumatic experience. Excuse me, don't make the mistake of being part of those groups that says trauma is for the weak. It's not for the weak. Even people, in fact, many people that have survived trauma are one of the major strong people we have in the society. People that have survived trauma, people that have been able to go through it, they are strong pillars of the society. Go and check them, go and check their backgrounds. Let them share a little bit of their stories to you. We see that they've been through one trauma or the other, and that experience has actually given them an opportunity to to see life in different ways, to see life in different perspectives, and to outgrow certain things in life. And that will take me to number three. People have a misconception that trauma is always bad experience. Sometimes there is always this bad experience in good lessons in disguise, and there's always this bad experience to make us see another perspective of life, to make us grow, and to make us learn certain fruits of life. The scripture says something that is very profound. It said for we know that all things are working together for our good. And we believe in the possibilities that even in our bad situations, or situations that we don't even like, that we might have experienced in our life, we believe, we have that hope that they are still working out for our good, they are still working out for our better. It's just our ability to see Jesus in that story that makes it the best story. The beauty of Mary Magdalene's story is the fact that she could see Jesus in her story. So the perfume she could have used to seduce guys, and just used to seduce. Imagine Mary Magdalene using perfume to seduce guys, and she just bought that perfume. I just say no. Rather than using this perfume to seduce guys, I would rather use the perfume to worship Christ. So she was able to just bring that perfume, and she just sprayed it on Christ, and Christ was like, this lady honored me. Now, what I'm trying to say is that even in the midst of her traumatic life as an harlot before she encountered Christ, she was able to still see the possibility of a newness in herself. She was able to see the possibility of a new life, to embrace a new life that Christ has offered to her. And what I'm trying to say is that your bad story is just a chapter in a book. It doesn't mean that is all about your book. No, that's not all about your book. So don't have this how do I put it? Don't have this misconception that whatever it is that you have experienced that is so traumatic is something that how do I put it now, it's something that that's bad. Yes, sometimes there's actually a good story in a bad disguise. That will take me to another misconception about trauma. Another misconception: people believe that when you are traumatic, or probably you've gone through traumatic experiences, one of the things that you will experience for the rest of your life and things like that. One thing I've come to, I said, is a wound. And wound varies. It's not the stages of wound is not at the same phase. It's not the same way you might see it. So the same way it is when you go through traumas, and there are one thing I want you to know, is that all wound will eventually heal. So your traumatic events, your traumatic incidents will eventually heal. You will heal from it. The fact that no wound is permanent is also a physical wound, though, is also like, how do I put it, it's also an example of you understanding that even your emotional wounds are not permanent. They will eventually heal. You will heal. You will heal. The only difference is that there are certain lessons, there are certain things that you learn from that particular incident that teach you for life, that brings back the memory of, okay, this was what I went through. And if you see somebody go through it, you can easily help that person to become a better person and not go through the pain you went through at your own time or at your own phase of what you have actually gone through. Then lastly is that everybody does not overcome trauma. It's not everybody that actually overcome trauma. I see people saying that this is not everybody, because most times there are still people that even till their old age or till they die, they tend to, whenever they find themselves probably in that environment that reminds them of that trauma, or they find themselves in things that still remind them, they will tell you that the memory or the pain is still fresh. That's because they have not personally dealt with it or so. Now, here is the misconception in what I just said. The misconception is everybody does not overcome trauma, and everybody also overcome trauma. It just varies. Like, it's not at the same stage, it's not at the same understanding, and it's not at the same ideology. That will actually take me to truth that you and I need to accept about trauma. I've spoken about the misconception now. What are the truths that you and I need to accept about trauma? What embrace about trauma? Number one is that trauma is not related to a specific experience. People believe that when you are traumatic, you need to just, maybe it's just people that are raped that are traumatic. Some people still have that perspective that it's just females that are raped that are traumatic. Some people don't even have an understanding that men can be traumatic. A guy that has been alone all of his life, no family, nobody to stand there by him, and he was left alone to really find life on his own, could be traumatic. He could be suffering from a dependency issue that it will not even make him to want to live a life of having a vision of living around people or having a vision of family around him. It's not limited to one experience. That's what I'm trying to say. So don't limit traumatic experience to the fact that it has to be a specific way, it has to be a specific story and things like that. That will take me to number two reality of traumatic incident. Is trauma can be perceived. When you see the way people respond at times, or you see the way people react to things, you can easily say this person has been traumatized in this particular area. Some people say, she's talking like that maybe because she's a psychologist. No. We have people that will tell you that I can't trust a guy. We have people that will tell you that I can't do this. We have guys that will tell you that a lady has jilted me once, and because of that I'm so scared to be serious in a relationship, or so scared to be committed in a relationship. Or someone will tell you that I don't like family, my family background is this and that, or probably their environment. There are just so many experiences, seeing the way people react, seeing the way people respond. You just can tell at that particular time that this person has been traumatized one way or the other. That will take me to number three, is that all traumas are valid. So there's no it's not, your trauma is not much, your own trauma is small. This reality we all need to face is that everybody faces traumas, and they are valid. They are stories. There are things that we need to learn from. There are things that we don't have to take with levity, and or we don't have to be nonchalant about it. There are things that we need to be realistic about it, and we need to face the realities of the fact that people go to traumas. People go through traumas. That will take me to another reality of trauma, is that the after effect of traumatic events is not always the same. The after effect on each and every individual is not the same. It's different. It varies. It's not always at the same degree, it's not always at the same, this is because their response is not always the same. That's why we also encourage personal counseling for people that have gone through traumatic events, so they can, have one-on-one session, and you can know the kind of therapeutic medication to give to them in that particular incident, because it's not the same, their response is not the same, the way they do things is not the same, all those things are not the same. So that will take me to the last realities of trauma, which is traumas is not survivors, or is it survivors? Or it's not a client's fault. The victim is not the victim's fault. Let me use that. The fact that you've gone through trauma in your life, and you've gone through incidents that are not okay with you, or you don't feel okay with, or you feel so less in life, or you feel that you are not worth some certain things due to the things that you've experienced in life, and you feel that it's your fault, and because of that you hate yourself, you beat yourself, and it's not your fault. Whatever you have gone through in life is not your fault. Fine, there may be some incident that might happen and you feel like, oh, if I didn't do this, yes, if you didn't do it, you wouldn't have ended up that way. But thank God you know now, because you know you can do better. So why do you want to kill yourself because you made a mistake that you can learn to be better at? So even instead of looking at things from further, you can do better, you can be better. You can live better, you can love better, you can enjoy life better. Whatever it is that you have gone through in your life is not the end point of it. It's not the end of your life. It's not the end of your dreams. It's not the end of imagining a new life for yourself, or whatever it is that you can begin to picture your life to want to be. The most beautiful things around all these things is you seeing the fact that you can actually start new, and you can deal with those experiences you feel like it's not going to let you out of the bag, it's not going to let you embrace yourself. I spoke to a client of recent that actually, the client had been having insomnia for days, and when we spoke at length, when the client was sharing some things that he has gone through in life that has made him traumatic, that made him lost his sleep, and we began to discuss around it and began to put therapeutic measures on it. By the time he had his first sleep in a while, he felt so relaxed, and he was even telling me that, I'm so happy I slept like a baby. And I was like, that's what life can be when you chose another part of life. You don't have to be rigid about one part of life. You have to be vulnerable and be open to change, and believe that the new part of life you have chosen to take, to embrace the realities of yourself, will actually help you to do better. I want you to stay glued to this channel as we keep giving you details, as we give you sections on Hope Life Therapy. Don't forget to click on the subscribe button, and also don't forget to invite your friends. I see